Welcome to the Basic Bee podcast, a show for the wannabe SEO savvy service providers among us, for the coaches and consultants who dream of becoming known for their storytelling skills, not to mention the solopreneurs who straight up need to master all things social proof to increase sales. After a little reluctantly fully committing to this online world of business, I quickly realized I needed to get people to come to me. I needed to tell them I was here and how I could support them. I dove headfirst into social proof, which led me to SEO, which led me to storytelling. And now it gives me great joy to share what I've learned with other business owners so they skip the hard stuff and ease straight into sales. This podcast gives you expert insights, actionable takeaways, and casual convos with some of the online world's best and brightest experts and strategists. I think that's enough of an intro, so here we go. Welcome back to the Basic Bee podcast. I'm stoked to have you here, and I have a really special conversation with a really special person coming up for you. So Mindi Trimble, who actually went through the case study training program and is just a really good friend, and we're always like chit-chatting on one platform or another. She's here with me to tell you about her experience as well as a few other things that are going on in her world. But before I bring her on, here is her quick intro. Mindi Trimble is the bubble wrap of college prep. She mentors students on how to intentionally pop out from the application crowd without popping under pressure on the way to their best fit college. Besides increasing acceptance rates, Mindi's Acceptance Academy program has helped students win scholarship and financial aid offers, ranging from 5 to 30 times their investment in her programs. When not singing her students' praises, Mindi's flexing her Phi Beta Kappa for UC Berkeley knowledge at trivia nights, her muscles on hikes with her husband Scott and German Schiegel Alibu, and yes, her actual operatic training with silly versions of soprano arias to her twin boys. Mindi, hi, my friend. I got through your bio.
You know what? I think you did a beautiful job.
Why, thank you. The second time.
It's great. No, I'm really excited to be here. And that was one of the reasons I came to you, because I wanted to sing my students' praises better and in a way that is more efficient and productive and lives forever.
Forever. On the good old internet.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot that you are a trained opera
Indeed. Yeah, there we go. That's the only singing that's going to happen on this podcast.
You're like, and that's going to... All right, let me hit you with the first question, and then we'll get into the meat of all this stuff. Which do you believe is the most important for sales? SEO, storytelling, or social proof?
I believe this is a trick question.
A little bit.
Because I believe that not a single one is the most important. I think you need all three. And I think that storytelling is probably first, because I need to be able to storytell in order to create great social proof. And I can't maximize my SEO without keywords from the stories and social proof I create.
You just gave a better answer than I thought was even possible.
Well, Brittany, I know. I'm just here. I'm just here to wow.
That's the Phi Beta Kappa I'm probably screwing it up thing, right?
This is a sidebar. So Brittany and I met through Marisa Corcoran's Copy Confidence Society. And it's a joke because when I was redoing my brilliant bio in one of her copy chat interviews, we had a whole thing about Phi Beta Kappa. She's like, nobody knows what it is. And I said, yeah, but she's in Phi Beta Kappa also.
Oh, funny.
And she said that her coach also would always mention it whenever Marisa, but she was introducing Marisa. So it was a joke moment. So I said, okay, we're putting it in there.
It's going in there. No, yep. I love that it's in there because it is memorable, even though I have no freaking clue what Phi Beta Kappa is. Like, I mean, I know that it's a Greek house, right? Like a sorority.
It's an honor society. So it's an academic honor society. So it's not like an actual sorority, but it's for everybody who gets a certain GPA in college. You know what? I'm going to make you an honorary member here. I'm dubbing you.
I knew
you're an honorary member of Phi Beta Kappa.
I'm honored. No, seriously, I didn't go to a 4-year college, so probably if that had happened, I probably would have been. So now it really makes me want to go back to college, which means I probably need your assistance.
Well, I'm here for you when you need it. I work with transfer students. I work with professional students, but my primary jam is undergrads.
Yeah, and we've even talked about possibly, possibly you working with twins, because that seems to be like a thing that keeps falling in your lap, which I personally, as the friend of like several families with twins, really hope that you do.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely happening. I am definitely going to be slowly rebranding this year, kind of making stuff behind the scenes, and it's going to be a formal launch in 2025.
I am so excited.
I want to work exclusively with twins.
I can't believe you're actually going to do this. I'm stoked. I have so many people for you in about like 15 years. So just sit tight. Don't
That's
go anywhere.
right. It's all good. I'm not going anywhere. So.
And how old are your twins? I don't think I've asked you that in a while or ever.
They are 5.5, and they are juicy human nuggets. They are so fun. They're super fun. They say really silly things. We have a good time.
I love that. So fun. I really could talk to you like forever and ever. And I know we have a couple things that we want to chat through.
Yes.
So tell all of our new friends what was going on before you joined the case study training program.
Yes. So when I joined the case study training program, it was in the middle of my busy season, and I was hesitant because I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep up, even though the work is honestly going through it after the fact. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful and it's not overwhelming. At the time, my work was so demanding, I knew I was not going to get it done in the actual sequencing of the 6-week flow. But where I was at that point was I was so busy and I hadn't properly kind of set up my social media plan, so I wasn't consistent. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't pre-scheduled things to roll out. And, you know, I was working with my students. So I said, okay, well, I'll just, I'll put this towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, and then I'll start doing my case study interviews so that I can create them and schedule them and have them ready to roll out over the next 6-7 weeks. So This might even be your next question, but I feel so much more confident about, I don't feel like I have to come up really with anything, because each student has a different story, and that I can, connect that story arc to my content pillars. I can find a different content pillar for each student. That whole story arc aspect of your pet structure, it helps me with the different client stories because, they are client success stories, but it helps me decide, all right, I have these 5 case studies that I'm developing right now. So which point do I want to, draw out to connect it to my content pillars so that I don't have to think like, what am I going to post today? Anything I post on top of those baselines is icing. Mm-hmm. Because right now I'm pretty quiet on the social media right now. So that will be changing very soon.
No, that's great to hear. So, and I remember getting the DM from you, but we had some kind of conversation about it. And I remember just how busy you were. And I was like, it's good. Like, you can take what you need from it and then we can go through it later, which you did actually do. You joined for basically another round to go through that more in a live capacity where you were able to actually work through things and digest it. And even still, I know you were on the last call and you're like, everything's not done. It's not done. But like, I've gone through enough of it.
Yeah. And, I think I really like the live aspect of it. I loved the way that you dripped the content into the email. So I felt like it was very clear with the checklist. And I just appreciate how thorough and organized you are. And also just self-deprecating. Like, you are so organized and you're so generous with what you give, but you're always like, this is incomplete. There is always more. And I'm just like, oh, I love you, Brittany. I know there's more, but you're giving us so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, that's one thing where I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I really am. And one of those things is like, is there enough? Do you have enough? But I've really had to balance like fire hosing people with just like, here's a few things. If you need more, come find me. So thank you for saying that. I really, truly appreciate that. And I'm glad to know that it was manageable enough for you to go through on your own, but that the live component was really nice because that's not how I structured it at first.
Yeah, no, I think the live component, even though I was busy again for the live coursework, I felt that the way that it was presented and how I got the reminder emails every week, I felt like, okay, I know, like, this is what I want to look at now. And I could make notes, even if I knew I couldn't get into it until later. I could make notes for myself a lot more easily about like where I wanted to go and develop and spend more time and when I was going to do what. So that's been really helpful.
Amazing. I love hearing that. Thank you. What was it about this training or me? Like, why me? Why this training? Which is always such a weird question to ask, but like genuinely, I would love to hear.
Right. Well, I mean, because I knew you from the Copy Confidence Society, I loved your energy. I love, how you are so one of those people online, like what you see is what you get. In terms of, I know exactly what kind of personality you're going to be in the training, but also I knew it was going to be very, very high quality. And I've watched your own business evolve and I've watched you niche. And in fact, I will say that your niching as a copywriter from, just as a general copywriter focused on like the health and wellness space to focusing on SEO and just the amount of like, your first podcast and over the second podcast, it is so inspiring. And so I want to learn from someone who is doing such inspirational work as I'm growing my business. And so I just knew you were the right fit. I mean, there's lots of SEO people out there, but it wasn't a matter of shopping around. It was a matter of when can I include Brittany's amazing advice into my life? Even if I don't get to it right away, I'm going to get it now and it's going to live in a folder and I will get to it when I get to it.
And I hope it's called the Brittany folder. Like, I really do.
I mean, I can rename it. Right now, it's Brittany Hertzberg Trainings, but...
Oh, that's great. No, we can leave that. I approve. This is lovely.
Is it Herzberg or Hertzberg? Herzberg. Oh, I threw a T in there. Okay.
You're fine. Everyone does. The family, we're totally getting off track, but the family lore story is that when they came over from Germany, that the T, like, they decided to do away with it. But I have no idea. I'm still tracking that ancestry. I'm still pulling on that thread. I know I'm like, but really.
Well, as a recovering perfectionist, it's a T you don't have to cross, which is lovely.
This is so true. I've got just about every letter of the alphabet in my name. Anyway, so I love hearing that. I love knowing that it really wasn't a matter of shopping around. And frankly, that happens a lot where people come into my world, they get to know me, and then they want to do something and they're like, you. And so I don't really have sales calls. It's not that I can't have sales calls or that I'm opposed to them, but my sales calls are in air quotes and they're typically on Voxer or Instagram where it's like a couple questions being volleyed back and forth. And then people are like, okay, I'm ready. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for being another one of those people. What were you really hoping to get from the case study training? Like at the end, what did you want to have or know or be able to do at the end of things?
I mean, it lived up to my expectations. I was kind of hoping like, okay, maybe I can use these case studies to create a whole social media planning system that allows me, to not have to recreate the wheel every week. Actually, with every student, I get new students every year and my business is seasonal. So, I'll do case studies every year, hopefully. I sure hope
you have to be around for 15 years.
Right. And also, I do have students that I'm still in contact with whom I haven't done case studies and they're years down the road. So some of them are finishing college. There's this huge pool of case studies I haven't tapped. So, I don't have to worry about having a slim year or even not taking on as many clients one year because it's just kind of a resource that keeps on giving. And I was surprised by the amount of repurposing ideas and the amount of direction with, blogging and SEO and making that work. So I was really excited to see all of that content in the course.
Oh, yay. I'm so happy to hear that. I also just recently, I've been working with a marketing agency. We were working through something and there was a question about optimizing images. And I went back into the materials and I was like, oh, that's an opportunity I can add because I have that. It's just over in a different training for blogging with SEO. So I'm going to pull that in. But like, I do feel like I'm really happy with the amount of material that's there. And I get a lot of feedback, like what you're saying, that there's a good amount there and a lot of resources and a lot of meat to it. But I'm still always trying to find, okay, like what's that opportunity? What's that gap? What's that thing that I forgot to include or could include or something like that? So on that note, is there anything that now that you've gone through the training and created some case studies, is there anything that you can think of where it's like, oh, I wish this had been in there?
No, because you have this other product. In fact, I think it's pretty genius. It's like I've gotten a taste of the blogging with SEO, but you're not going to give all of that to me inside of a case study training. So the thing that I want is a product you also have. Perfect. Right? that's the way it's supposed to work. So I think what I want is more Brittany and I'm going to get it. Blogging and SEO. So there you go.
And the podcast and the things.
Yeah, all the things. It's great. Yeah, it's all there. And I'm still working through it, right? I'm obviously not to the repurpose stage yet. I've, looked through and read about it. I know what's coming.
Yeah, and you'll get there. And that's the idea too, is not that you have to, run through this material at lightning speed. It's like, it'll be there whenever you're ready for it. So one thing that I should probably clarify, but you've definitely talked about, is that I don't have this training housed in like Kajabi or Teachable or anything like that. I send you emails, and I believe the way that I do it is it's sent out, the materials go out on Monday. And then if we have a live call on that Friday, there's a reminder sent Thursday, there's reminders sent Friday, then we have the live call. If it's a non-call week, you still get the Monday materials email, and then you get something Thursday or Friday, more of like a check-in kind of thing. How was that part of the experience where it was email versus like logging into something? Was that ideal?
Yes, I like that because I relied on those emails because I knew, since the live round went in the fall and I was busy with my students because all of their deadlines are October, November, I would kind of orient myself with what was going on. I would make sure to open up all the Google Docs. Depending on how much time I have, I would kind of like dig around and then make a plan and be like, all right, when I'm ready to, these are the first steps I'm going to do. I would just kind of try to orient myself. And if I did have more time that day, or if I went down a rabbit hole with it, then I just would. But I was able to kind of put it all in a folder and not get overwhelmed, I guess, with all of the modules all at once on a page.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because that is one thing that I am hoping to avoid, is like, here's everything, because I did that the first time I ran this program, and some people loved it and some people really didn't love it, because it is a lot if you're looking at it all at once. I mean, granted, yes, it's organized and it's pretty and it's all of that, but if you're staring at a huge document, it's like, I have to do all of this?
Right.
To go through all these things. So I'm glad to hear that you're coming back to it and making use of it like in phases and stages. I think that's really smart.
Yeah. And I just kind of tagged all the emails and put them in their own little folder so that I'm like, okay, that's where I go back.
That makes me happy. You're working with high school students going into college and then eventually college students. Have you interviewed anyone? How are you gathering the information to actually create your case studies? Is it video interviews or?
I'm doing video interviews. I don't have a video platform. I might, I'm on Instagram, so I might grab some clips for repurposing, but I'm not I don't have a YouTube account where I do that. But the way that I work up until this point has been, one-on-one with students. So I'm spending, over the course of 4 to 6 months or more, 20 to 30 hours one-on-one with these students. And so I already know them very, very well. And some of them I've known for years now because they're, they've gone on into college. So I'm doing these Zoom interviews and it's so surprising. So some of them are fresh out of the relationship and some have a little bit more time. And, I thought for sure I would be surprised by the students who are, a couple years out. But even the students that just finished working with me, back in December, January, I'm so surprised by what they're saying. So I've done 5 interviews. I'm working at, I know.
No, that's great. I'm smiling.
I'm supposed to be doing them all at once.
Oh, you're good.
But I'm working, I've staggered them, but I'm kind of, shaping them and working on them in different ways because I wanted to tie them to the pillars of my messaging. And so they're just such gifts. Talk about like an injection of positivity into your work day. I mean, I'm so surprised by what they're saying about, what they learned, what surprised them, what they're still using in college, things that we covered together that they got to a class or were in another coaching. They're like, oh, I already knew all that because of what we did together. I was just like, oh, that wasn't even one of my intentions. So that's amazing. So it's just, it's a gift. That has been by far the most surprising part of the case study training, is how affirming it can be. And, I feel like I'm building more community with my students and, I'm prolonging that relationship, which is what I want. I mean, that's why I do what I do. I love the intimacy of what I do.
Yeah, I love hearing that so much, because that's, I think, something that people really don't consider when they join the case study training program or hire me for done-for-you case studies. they don't realize how much of, it's really an ego boost. It's a great thing to have. I even wrote about that in the email that I sent out today. It's wonderful to be able to flip over to your website and on a really crappy day, look at something and be like, no, I do know what I'm doing. Look, I impacted this person's life. Look, I did this thing. I did that thing. Look at the wonderful things they had to say about me. Because we all go through that and we all have crappy days. And it's really nice to just go, oh, yeah, no, this is just like a flash in the pan. It's just a moment.
Yeah. It's just a hard day.
Just a hard day.
Go look at what this person said and what's happening for them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I love hearing that again. Like, that's so nice and probably something that I need to talk about a little bit more. And you reminded me when you were chatting about tying the different case studies to your content pillars. That's so smart. And it's so cool for me to hear you talk about that because that's not something I share in the training. I talk about featuring different case studies for different things, but that's not an example that I give. So it's really fun for me to see how students have taken this material and really made it their own. You know, I talk about featuring a case study for each different offer. I talk about featuring a client for different values that you have or supporting your mission or talking through different parts of your framework and things like that. So I love your idea and I love how you've tied that together and how it's really going to serve you for a very long time and even in a different format and a different capacity than you might have even necessarily set out to do.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really think about it until, I probably in my second or third interview, I thought, okay, well, I can arc this one this way and I can go this angle. And I realized that those angles were actually tied to the messages that I want, that I want to keep talking about over and over. And so then different ways of showcasing the work I do.
Exactly. I love that. See, that'll be one of those like, hey, I found another way. Here you go. Because I like leaving space because I do want you to feel like you can come into this program and have your own thoughts and have your own ideas and do your own thing. And I learned so much from my students and my clients. And so it allows me to like leave a gap where I can go in and be like, oh yeah, there was this thing too, or so-and-so said this, or here's another example. All right. I know you have some pet peeves about your industry, and I would love to hear how you maybe intend to use these case studies to help address the pet peeves. Do you have ideas already on that? What if you had an easy way to bust objections you commonly hear? Well, case studies can be that thing for you. Recently, my case study client, Brenna, shared she had her biggest launch ever, and she largely credits case studies for that launch success. Each time she heard an objection from a potential student, she was able to simply point them to the case study. She let her students do the talking and the objection busting. I mean, what could be easier than that? Maybe hiring me for a done-for-you case study is an option that's just not on the table right now. Cool. You might be interested in my case study training program. It's specifically designed for solopreneurs, service providers who are wearing all the hats and just need to know what to do and exactly how to do it so they have a case study on their site they can be proud of and point people to, just like Brenna did. Doors open April 22nd, and we officially kick things off on April 29th. All the info is below.
Yeah. And my pet peeves, they're tied to my content pillars. So one of my pet peeves is that the college timeline has really transitioned a lot, especially within the last 20 to 30 years. And gosh, even the last 10 to 15. So, parents and students think college is not really something I need to start thinking about until junior or senior year. And nothing could be further from the truth. I think that if students are college bound, usually parents know that well before they get to high school. And students may not be 100% on board, but, parents probably have a certain expectation or desire. And if the students also do, then there are baby steps that aren't really about college research that should be happening in the summer before ninth grade, in ninth grade and 10th grade. And it really is in 10th grade, I would argue, that you can start doing active college research. So, setting yourself up well to be using your summers in a way that's going to help you enhance your own narrative. I mean, ultimately, what I also do is about storytelling. I'm helping students tell their own personal story and give context to admission officers. The admission officers want to see who they were, who they are, and who they hope to be and how college is going to help them do that. And so high school students don't have a lot if any, experience with creative nonfiction or storytelling in that way. They write other kinds of essays, but not those kinds of essays. And so really, really, truly needs to start earlier. The research needs to start earlier because the storycraft coaching also takes a lot of time. And it's hard for students to write about themselves. It's hard for anybody to write about themselves, period. So you have a bio product also, right? How to write your bio. So you created it because everybody struggles with that kind of stuff. And this is 650 words and it feels really heavy and scary because it can be. But yeah, ultimately my pet peeve is that people start too late. And I have quite a few students with whom I've been lucky enough to work with over many years leading up to their college application process. And unsurprisingly, those students did really well and got hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend college. So yeah, it comes as no surprise to me. Those students were not, in financial need. It was all merit-based. So it's pretty impressive and just makes me really excited because I know that it works.
Yeah, it really does. And it's fun to even hear you talk about it because I love how just so much about the process and it does really light you up. One thing I'm curious about, and this is so not part of any other thing, but I'm wondering, do parents reach out to you exclusively or do you sometimes have students that reach out to you?
I very rarely get students reaching out to me. It's mostly parents. If students reach out to me, it's usually because a friend of theirs recommended me. Occasionally, you're going to have I maybe can count on one hand the number of cold DMs for students. Yeah, it's mostly parents who are subscribing also to my list. But yeah, I typically hear mainly from students during the application season. So
right.
My friend is using you and I need help. Okay.
All right, here you go. Yeah, I'm mostly asking because I was that weirdo child where I would have been like, oh, Mindy could help me. Hi, Mindy.
Yeah, no, and I definitely have students like that. And honestly, the students that are self-starting, self-directed and reach out to me, I usually know right off the bat that that's going to be a good fit because they're getting in touch with me themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and they're already like, I want this help. Help me. I love that. What are some of the things you mentioned your rebrand, but what are some of the things that you have going on this year?
Yes. So May 19th, I am launching my group cohort and one-on-one hybrid class. So it's going to be a very small group, 6 students max in each group. And I'm only going to run 2 if I get there. And if I run 2 and I don't have 6 students in each, I'm still going to run no matter what. So it's the first time I've done it in this capacity. So it's going to be a group course over 6 weeks. And I'm going to have 1 flex week in there for students to integrate and write and do all of that. And there's also going to be 4 one-on-one sessions for each student over the course of those 7 weeks. So I have 1 class from May 19th to June 30th that's focused exclusively on the common application software. That's kind of the main clearinghouse most schools use, where you can put 1 personal statement that gets sent out to many colleges, and it's got some other elements as well. And so it really helps to have some guidance about how to maximize its features. And then the second part of that course is this next 7-week course, which is focused on the supplemental essays. So those are the campus-specific essays that colleges ask for.
That's amazing. I really could have used that.
And then, and students get another 4 one-on-ones. So it could be, up to 8 one-on-one sessions with me. They could get everything done and dusted by September 22nd. And the early decision deadlines are on October 1st. So my whole goal is all about, if you really don't want to have a stressful senior year, if you really want to enjoy your Halloween, then it's important to start early. And I would say that most juniors in high school are like, oh, May 19th, I'm not even done with junior year. I'm going to be doing this right when I finish school. It's like, yes.
Yes, you will be.
Yes, you are, because future you is going to thank you. I promise.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I really could have used that. I'm glad you're around, Mindy.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know there are going to be people who want to connect with you. Where can they connect with you?
Yes. So you can connect with me on Instagram at Mindi Trimble Mentoring, all one word. That's MindiTrimble Mentoring. And you can also find me at minditrimble.com/mentoring. And I also have a special gift for the Basic Bee listeners. So if you go to minditrimble.com/podcast, you are going to get access to a U-Science aptitude test. So I use U-Science as a way to kind of help students identify their superpowers and their character strengths, and even identify best fit careers. It's not a normal aptitude test. Like, I know, tell me if I'm wrong, maybe in high school you did an aptitude test where you were checking a bunch of boxes about like, oh, I like this, or I sort of like to do this, or I'm strong. It's not like that. It's all brain games. It's super fun. And in fact, I think you would love it. So I think I will send one to you. You're like, oh, I want this. It's 90 minutes. It's an investment, but it's actual aptitude. So you're actually doing like puzzles. It kind of feels like an IQ test. Some people have said, some people say it's a little scary, but there's no way to fail this. It's just revealing your learned and natural abilities and skills. And then, and then I'll go through that with you. And if you want to talk about some of my other programs like Winning College or my other programs for younger students, then we can talk about that as well.
I love that. That does sound so fun, and I totally want to go take that test.
Yeah, I'm sending to you. So
sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining me and sharing your experience and being willing to do this. I know it took us like a few times to get us scheduled, and I'm so glad that it worked out. And then tech tried to kill us this morning, but we got it this afternoon, wherever we are. I don't even remember anymore. But it was such a blast having you go through the program. I mean, of course, like we were already friends, and so I knew you and I knew your personality and your vibe, and I was so stoked. But it's just really fun watching people go through that whole transformation of, yeah, I have some things, but wow, like I'm kind of incredible and my programs are pretty amazing and my skills are really great. And look at these people that I've been able to help. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you, because I wouldn't have leaned into this as like the main prong of how I'm going to approach, marketing and social media. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And your idea is so brilliant. I'm totally sharing that. All right. Thanks for joining us, and I will catch you next time. That was really something, wasn't it? Let that really sink in and guide you toward being the answer to even more Googled questions. Thanks so much for joining me this episode. You are the reason this show exists and that it keeps growing. Thanks to all those follows and reviews. If you know someone who could benefit from what was shared, send it to them. We don't do shy around here. If you thought of clarifying or follow-up questions while listening, you know what to do. Say hi on Instagram. Check the show notes for all the things that were mentioned, and I'll talk to you soon, friend. Looking for an introvert-friendly way to sell, or even just want to stop feeling so salesy? I've got just the thing for you. Case studies. Yeah, I know. I talk about them all the time, but there's a good reason for it. Case studies are the ultimate marketing resource for introverts and service providers. There's no better way to show someone the exact experience they could have working with you. They get to see themselves reflected in the story they're reading. They start to feel more connected to you and your approach, and they see the results that are possible for them too. There's absolutely no salesy feelings anywhere near case studies. You can get my exact step-by-step process, all sorts of resources, checklists, templates, video trainings, live calls with me, and so much more inside my case study training program for solopreneurs. Doors open April 22nd, and we officially kick things off on April 29th. Click the link below for all the details.